Hey everyone. So, we all know a large part of podcasting and having a podcast that is distributed online for all to see is the artwork. It's a big part of it because that's the first thing people see. And as I mentioned throughout this entire course, sometimes people just click on whatever looks cool or the coolest artwork they see without even really knowing what the podcast is about. They'll go into a certain genre, they'll say, "This looks neat, I'm going to try that out." And just by the artwork, they select it. So you don't have to be an artist to create artwork for your podcast. So let's get that out of the way first. So no big deal on that. But we do, however, need to create something that identifies your podcast to the public, what it is, what it's about. Your graphic should relate to your theme and your format, and also even your genre. So keep that in mind as we move forward. And again, those of you who can't draw, do not get overwhelmed. I promise you, there is an option for you. Manipulating just a graphic or an image is absolutely fine. Let's just go ahead and jump into it with creating artwork for your podcast here on The Holler.
So let's talk about graphics. As you've seen throughout this course, podcasts have artwork attached to them. The artwork is associated to the podcast. It's usually related to the theme, genre, not so much the format, but it can. What I mean by that, you may have a logo of two podcast hosts talking, maybe three or more. That would give you the option of thinking about a multi-host show in your mind, maybe. But what we're wanting to do is something generic. You can go all out with this if you want. I am a huge fan of art in general. So anytime I'm able to actually use art and create stuff, I'm all for it. So what we're going to do right now, though, is take a look using just our good old web browser. A few places that I want you to check out yourself. So take notes here, okay? We got to learn something called open source images. Open source images are images that are free. When you use an open source image, you can use it however you want. You can change it. You can manipulate it. You can add to it, take away. It's okay. It's yours. It's free. If you go online and pull images that aren't free, you may get into problems. Someone might say they don't want you using it. And when they do, you probably have to stop. So I would highly suggest, if you're going to create your own image from the ground up, a graphic similar to the modern My Mountain Mysteries podcast, then that's great. If you're going to pull an image from, let's say, offline and or online, and you're going to use that image, then that's okay too. But be sure that it's open source. Now, this image here, okay, that you're seeing, was created using just certain elements that I made myself using Photoshop. So none of these elements of this picture are things that I pulled offline. Okay, all of this is created from the ground up, so I know, okay, we're all safe with that. Those of you who don't like to create or can't create using different types of software like Photoshop and other sources, you can pull an image. So, time to take notes. Go to Google or any web browser you want, type in open source images. What you do, you're going to see at the top there's a few options. Usually, the first option, if you see there's an ad with it, and if you see that also below it are other types of searches available, typically these with ads are monetary based websites. Even though it says, hey, come and check out our free images, you have to pay for it. So if you go into, let's say, open source images at iStock Photo, so we go into this, and then when you see it, you're like, wow, these are great royalty free images. So this is kind of what I'm looking for. I'm going to scroll down. Let's say I have a sports podcast I'm working on. It's baseball. Okay. I'm going to scroll down. Here, sports and recreation photos. Click on that. Do I see any baseball? Yeah, here we go. Baseball. This is what I want. I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. This takes me into the baseball options. And I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to say, wow, I really like this bat, this ball. How much is this? $12. Wait, what do you mean? I can't just take this? What's going on? So no, you can't. You see all these little stamps all over it? That's keeping you from actually pulling it down and using it. These cost money. That's the bottom line. So let's get away from that. Be sure and watch out for that. Scroll down just a little bit more though. You're going to see a website called Free Stock Photos. Now, the website for this address is www.pexels.com. Pexels.com, right? Pexels.com. Go there, click, of course. Once you're inside, you'll see there's options similar to iStock, but these are free. Let's say you're going to do something on, I don't know, tourism. Or maybe you're going to do something on food or relationships or animals or anything, music. So there's tons of options here for you. I think what I'm probably going to do is go ahead and grab these books. I like those books. Free download. Click on it. Free download. Say thanks to the photographer. Here are 2 ways to do that. You can donate, so they give you an option, or you can just send the link. But you can also hit X and say, I don't want to do anything. So here I have now downloaded on my computer is an image of these books. Okay, where did it save it? Usually when you download, it saves in your download folder. Windows are the same unless you have a designated folder for it. All right, so I have my image. I also want to go ahead and look at a couple of ways that you can actually edit that image if you do not have access to Photoshop. I use Photoshop. Photoshop costs money. There's a couple of free options. The first is GIMP, GIMP. It's image manipulator program that is a cross-platform, so you can use it for a lot of different operating systems, and it's free. So if you click on it, you're going to take you to the GIMP website. You can download here at the top, okay, and you can do a lot of things with this. You can actually enhance, you can design, you can change, you can draw, a lot of fun stuff. So those of you who are interested in going in and creating from the ground up, GIMP.com will give you that option. Let's say you don't want to use GIMP.com. There are other options. Photo Editor is another great one. This is actually very cool because you don't have to download. You could just import your images and do everything you want to do here on the website. I probably would suggest this before GIMP. And this is the website befunky.com. www.befunky.com. So let's click on Get Started. So great. Now it gives you the option to upgrade. If you do, you get rid of all these nasty, stupid ads everywhere. Okay. Well, let's open up on my computer. I have something that I want to open. Over here on my downloads, I should have books. There's books. Open. Great. Here's my books. Over here, I have options. Crop, resize, rotate, cut out, background, replace color, exposure, all sorts of really cool stuff. I'm going to click on sharpen. Now watch what happens. When I move this up, you can see the books get a little bit brighter, right? All the way up to here. That really enhances it compared to that. I like that, so I'm moving it up. I'm hitting the check button. Good to go. Looks like they have now clarity. I like to sharpen and clarity. I like it to look really crisp, almost pixelated, just like that. Not so much maybe there. Great. Next thing I want to do is I actually want to take it and soften some. So you can see softness is dealing with light. So if you move this up, you can see how the colors get a little more pixelated. Not so much. It doesn't really do a whole lot to this image, but there you go. There you can see it. There are some variations. The light plays around a lot, makes it a little more crisp. All right, that's good to go. Now glow. What if I want to use glow? It's a plus feature. That means you got to pay to use it. So that's okay. We don't really need everything. We have what we need. We have what we need. Even color mixer. How cool is this? You can change those colors in there. You can really make certain colors stand out. Other colors kind of blend in. But I don't want to do that. Now, I've done what I can with this. Looks pretty good. I think what I want to do now is go ahead and I can full screen it, I can fit to screen it, I can zoom in if I want. Oh, look at that, all the way into those books. That's great. But what if this is a podcast about reading? Let's say book review. Well, the thing that I want to do is add some text. So I'm going to click on add text, and you can see now the text of it is added. Unfortunately, you can't see it very well. It's black. So let's go ahead now and try our best to outline it with a color. See, when you outline, you can see what happens. Now, my text is black. Let's change that now to a nice bright color, maybe. No, let's go with green. Now, still, you can't see it. Maybe if we raise up the font, I'm going to get rid of the history so you can see this. There we go. So let's raise up the font some. Go back to font. Hopefully it'll let us continue. There we go. I just hit delete. Okay, now I can type. So let's write our name of our podcast. We could call it Reading is My Life. Books are my air. Pages become my history. Covers remain my future. Now that makes no sense, but we're going to put this on here. We're going to center it. Okay. We're actually going to put a broader background, a little bit more, something like this. There we go. Wonderful. Now, what I'm going to do with this is actually take it now. I'm going to turn my font down, highlight it, go ahead and grab it like this right here. You can go ahead and set that font down a little bit smaller. This is just going to be a saying at the bottom of the podcast. I just think that's an interesting way to go about it. Move it down, kind of get it in there so everybody can see it. That's what I kind of want to do with this. Now, how in the world to do that? There we go. See, it's a very, very, very easy system to use. The background looks pretty big. Looks like it's a 20. So let's try to shrink it down some, maybe a little bit. But it looks like it's not going to let us do that because apparently whenever you center it, it becomes a little bit essential to the part of that. There we go. Aha, I figured it out. So see, you play around with these things and it becomes, pretty easy. You can highlight this. Yeah, let's not do that. How do you stop that from happening? That's a good question. We basically go here and click that. Transparent. Wonderful. Spacing. You can play around with letter spacing so that you have something like this. And I like that a lot, actually. I like to actually do this because when you play around with this, it actually becomes a little bit like that. And we can actually pull this all the way up so that it covers entire books. And then once we do that, turn this transparency of the background down all the way down like this. And then, excuse me, across the entire, if we could do this for a second, right here. So we're going to add some more text, right? We're going to put more text in here. Add text. There it is. See if we can grab it. Hopefully we can. Here we go. See how small this text is? It looks like it's almost like a 86 maybe. This allows you to twist it. So we're going to turn this one just like that. Move it up about right there. Apparently now you can move these layers around as well, which is great, but we're not going to do it just yet. I'm going to stick, there we go. Use this font, pull it down. I wonder if we can go back and play with that. I hope we can. I didn't really mean to do that. Well, apparently you can't. That's okay. Maybe you can. You can. Oh, look at this. Delete item, duplicate. There's so many things you can do with this. I mean, it's really amazing. You can set the font to 300. Then you have a giant header. Let's go to 600. Wonderful. Now, can we go in here and edit? Let's try. Go inside. We'll try to top some. So, what can we call our podcast? We can call it Book Reviews. Yeah, wonderful. I'm sure this is already taken. Let's call it Reading is Fun. How's that sound? ADING is fun. Great. Now the text is humongous, but that's okay. We can shrink it. Maybe pull it down a little bit more, maybe? How about 200? Okay, looks like it's going to highlight it first. Here we go. Now we can do it. 200. There we go. Reading is fun. Maybe we could turn those letters different color so that it doesn't look so much like the background. Wow, this is a mess, isn't it? Well, hopefully you can get the idea. Wish I had more time to play around with this. Darker. Yeah. If I could, then I could hopefully come up with some neat stuff. Here we go. Reading is fun. It's a podcast about books. We love books. We can increase this until I get to the point where we really like it. There we go. I think I want to change this again. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I have to. We're going to call this fun. Wow, we got an N hanging out there. Here we go. Fun time reading. Fun time reading. Great. Oh, I love it. It's wonderful. Outline it. Get a nice little color in there. There's some blue all the way out to here. There we go. Outline it with a nice width, about like that. Okay. I think it probably helped to highlight what I'm working on. There we go. Oh, there we go. So we're going to outline it again. Go down to blue. And then our background. Make it a little blue as well. So see, you can play around with this and keep messing with it until you get what you want. And then there you go. Right. So let's save it out now. How you do that? So up at the top, save computer as a JPEG. Now, this is something you have to pay attention to, because if you're creating a podcast dimensions, then there are certain dimensions for your podcast that you have to pay attention to. When you upload your podcast, you will have to have an image that's about 1400 by 1400 pixels. Now, don't get overwhelmed, because you can set this up. This is something you can do. You also need to have a maximum size of 3000 by 3000 pixels. So 1400 by 1400 as the minimum, and a maximum of 3000 by 3000. Now, you really want to make sure that your art is a JPEG, so you can see on the screen, JPEG or a PNG. Now, what you create here should be fine for uploading for your image. You shouldn't have any problem with that. Let's go ahead and save it as a JPEG. Now, your quality, of course, you can set this. This will actually shrink down the size of your JPEG considerably, so you can look down here at the bottom exactly what it is. So I'm going to save this out. The file name, we're going to put this as reading time, fun time reading. What am I saying? Fun time reading artwork. Great. And I'm going to hit save. Now, I'm not really sure what's going to save it to, but I guess we're going to find out. Aha, it's in my downloads. All right, great. So I'm just going to X out of here. There we go. So over here, I actually could sign in. You could save stuff to actually the website of BeFunky, or you can just save it to your computer. Great sources available for you here. Great. So now I think our image is about where we want it. Fun time reading. X out of my history here. I want to see the whole image. Now, here's how you save it. Now, when you create artwork for your podcast, all podcasts, when you upload the artwork, there's certain dimensions that it has to be. Now, if you do not know a lot about computers or working with graphics or software, imaging software, or anything like that, do not get overwhelmed by what I'm about to say, okay? What I am going to do, though, is pull up the Photoshop here. Just kind of give you an idea. So there's Photoshop. Pull it into the screen, just right there. File, new. Now, the images that you have to have, or the size you have to have, is 1400 pixels by 1400 pixels is the smallest. The largest is 3000 pixels by 3000 pixels. So let's just do the first. Let's do the smallest size you can have, 14,000. Make sure this is in Photoshop. I'm just doing this to basically give you an idea how big these are. 1400 by 1400. Notice that I picked pixels here instead of inches. This is what we're calling for. I just want to see exactly the size of this document. So here we go. Let's go to image. Now we'll go to image size. Right. So it's about 4 inches. 4 inches wide by 4 inches tall. At a 300 resolution, you could think of it like that too. The smallest image you can create is going to be 4 by 4 or 5 by 5. All right, let's X out of this. We'll go to File, New. Now for this one, we're going to do the largest. We got pixel selected, so it's going to be 3000. This should be around 9 inches, I'm guessing. But let's see. Here's the image size, 10 inches, 10 by 10. So 5 by 5 or 10 by 10. If you stay in that range, you're going to be fine. I'm going to go to, and you also have to save it out as a JPEG or a PNG. All right, so inside of BeFunky now, I go to Save, Computer. There we go. I'm going to rename it. Fun Time Reading. I'm going to select JPEG. I'm going to have pretty good quality. Raise it up some. When you raise this up, it also increases the size or lowers it depending. And hit Save. Now it saves it in your documents. Your downloads, I'm sorry, your downloads. So if I go in to open it, there it is. I have it. It's all ready. Now, if you want to get really technical with things, and you can, some of you I know are very thorough, and I really like that. So go back into our Photoshop, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to open the little thing we just created in our download. Fun Time Reading. Open it up. There it is. Great. It's nice and crisp. Let's go and see our image size. I'm just curious about this. Great. 13 by 9. We went over our margins. Remember, it's either 1400 by 1400, which we're okay on that. Let's go to pixels so you can see. Or 3000 by 3000. So we're okay on the height, but look at this. Your width is a little off. So some programs will allow you to do this. I know Photoshop will. But if I create this as a 3000, this little link chain here will automatically set the bottom as what it needs to be in order for this image to remain nice and square. If you unclick this and were to change this, it'll change the width, but it won't change the height. And what happens when that happens is you have a very skewed image. So, okay, great. There it is. We have our image, and we can save that back out. Just hit Save, JPEG, Fun Time Reading, Save. Do you want to replace it? Replace it. I want it high quality. I'll go to 12, hit OK. There we go. We have an image for our podcast. So let's go ahead now and jump in just a little bit into Photoshop. I don't want to go crazy. Now, of course, you can draw. You can go ahead and draw something in here. You could add images. Let's go ahead and kind of get an idea of what we're going to do. We're going to do something on food. So let's say you did a podcast about food. What you need to remember is in Photoshop, now this is a lot of information to go kind of fast. So if you don't have any basic understanding of Photoshop, this may be over your head. Those of you who do will get this kind of quick. Over to your right is your polygonal tool. Grab that. This is your lasso that will cause shapes. So you want to just make some shapes inside of here. Just make them look interesting. And then you go to edit. And wait one second here. You're right. Go to layers. We need to add a new layer. That way we're not messing up our original background. All right, great. Now we have our layer selected, not our background. And we'll go to edit, fill, color. Pick a color that you want. I'll kind of do something a little brighter than that. Something up in here maybe, right there. That's good. Okay, great. So there's our first color. We may want to go ahead, even if you really, really want to, you could go and go online and I'll go ahead and pull this up so you can see it. I can pull this up here, go down to Google and type in food vector free. Apparently does be free design file, so we could probably pull it off. So I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm going to grab it and stick it over here and drop it. Yeah, I can. Great. Now, I may or may not want all of these images on here. What if I'm just working with fast food? If that's the case, then I could get rid of the pancakes and the donut. I could probably keep the rest of it. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. Right click, duplicate, yes. I'm going to turn one off. go over here and grab my eraser tool. Make sure that it's pretty big. There we go. It's a pretty good size. Go in now and erase these pancakes off this one. And, of course, erase the donut over here. Great. There we go. Now, I can turn this one off and this one on. Grab this one now. Now for this one, I'm going to actually erase the donuts. And I'm going to erase the pancake, but I'm going to go a step further. Because what I'd like to have is all of these on their own separate little file. There we go. Duplicate this one. Again. Yes. Go back here to this one. I'm going to erase something. Erase the fries on this one. Turn off the background and see all the white there. I'm going to grab my selector tool over here, the magic wand, and I'm going to delete that from each one of them. Just going up on each one, selecting each layer with the original white selected. I've used my magic wand and grabbed the white. Done is duplicated the food by erasing the layers, duplicating, then erasing again, so I've got a ton of this fast food laying around. What I also did was, remember the polygon shape? I duplicated that. I selected each one with my magic wand tool and I gave it a different color. Now what I want to do is duplicate this again. And this is where things get a little interesting. Grab it, shrink it down, just like this. And I'm going to twist it around so that it's different orientation and stick it somewhere. There we go. And I'm going to do this one more time. Duplicate these little polygon shapes so that we have a couple more of them. This is essential. Now we're going to actually go ahead and grab all of these, merge them again, turn on the background. Now we're going to turn the opacity down on these little shapes, just like that. Great. Okay. And we're going to duplicate this one as well. And move this above the shapes, right? And then turn the opacity down on this one as well. So we have food and shapes, so it's not just bland, right? Great. So all we've done really is erased, duplicated, and merged. 3 basic techniques that you can do with Photoshop. Very basic. There's one more that I want to do. We're going to go to Layer, New, Layer. And I move this. Great, it's at the top. I'm going to fill this entire layer with a color. Okay, now you can see something is going to go completely, wow, that's a lot of pink, isn't it? But if I turn this down, you can see what happens. Kind of gives us a little bit of a background. The opacity up here, play around with it. So make sure you have that layer selected. Whatever layer you have selected, and you mess with the opacity, that's what's going to happen on that particular layer. So just be sure you have the right one selected before you do that. Now all we need to do is put our name on it. We got the text tool. It looks like a T. Bring that out. Place it right above. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see. I'm going to close this out for a second. So you can see the little crosshair thing I have. It's not really a crosshair. It looks like I guess a little upside down shovel. I don't know what it is. It's the text tool. Horizontal type text tool. Grab it and drag it. You see what I've done? I made like a box. Then I let go. I'm just going to type some gibberish in there. You can't really see it. It's really small. Now this is where you have to pay close attention. I've just put some letters in there. I just want letters. I want something in there so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go up here and grab my crosshair. Or the move tool. I call it the crosshair. I'm going to open my layers up again. There's my weird stuff going on. And up here you have the A. If you put your highlighter on it, it says character. I'm going to raise up the font to about 48, maybe more than that, 72, maybe more than that. Maybe we go 120. There we go. Now, as long as you have the move tool selected and the layer selected with the letters, you can actually go in now and can change the font by using the move tool. So we'll move it down here to a font that we can use that will look good with this, maybe just as an example. I really like that one. Now the color, let's try that, a really dark maroon. Great. Now I'm going to right click, go to blending options, go down to outer glow, turn it on, move this over to the side so you can see your letters. So I clicked outer glow, I have it selected. See, it looks different than all these other effects. Over here's outer glow. I'm going to go up to opacity. I'm going to turn it all the way up to 100 because I want it to be able to see it. I'm going to go down to spread, turn that up slowly. You can see what happens. The letters have a halo around them. I like that. The size makes it bigger so you can have a really nice thick one. Or you can go smaller. You can change the color. You do all kinds of things. So there we go. Great. Let's call it the fastest food in town. Now you can't see the in town part. So we're going to go ahead and take this, grab it, and you're going to stretch this down so you can see that. There we go. The Fastest Food in Town podcast. That would be the name of it. Podcast. Now you can't see that either, but we can move with our move tool all of the letters up some. Then with our text tool, we can drop it down. And now we have our completed graphic. We'll move it back some. Wonderful. The Fastest Food in Town podcast. Now, how to save this out? You go to File, Save As. You have an option to do a JPEG. The Fastest Food in Town podcast graphic, and save that to your computer. Once you do that, you will have everything you need to upload an image for your podcast.
Graphics either grab our attention or they don't. They're the first thing many people see when they look through podcasts, and a lot of times they check it out because either they like the graphic or they don't. It's the same as book covers, really. So take your time with your graphic. Create something that you think that describes your podcast visually. Try to take your time and wonder about what will people think when they see it. Get something eye-catching. Here's a couple that I've created, including the one in this unit. Sorry for the fuzziness on this one, but my mountain mysteries as well. So it can be done. I look forward to seeing what you create, both with your graphic and your podcast. We look forward to sharing them here on The Holler. If you want to make more than one podcast, that's great. That's what we hope to happen. So create as many as you can. We're going to share them and post them online for you first, and then you can go on and do that later. On how to do that, well, check for future courses here on The Holler. So look at the description in this unit below to find out how to submit your work. We look forward to seeing it and sharing it with the entire world. Until the next course, I'm Christopher Epling for The Holler.